This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Watch the greenback. I was thinking it was the afternoon broadcast, and sometimes I just don't say anything for a while to to see what my producer will do, see about how long it takes him to panic. Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Yeah, your dial said correctly to USAPrepares.com. And we're broadcasting at 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock right here from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains. We're on Genesis Communications Network. And there's a link to your instructors. So if you'd like to contact one of your instructors, just go to USAPREPARES.com. And there's a link right at the bottom of the page to your instructors. Dave's producing the broadcast in Minnesota. Today, survival economics with Frank Underhill. Hey, welcome, Frank.
Good morning, Vincent. Happy Father's Day to you. Glad to be here.
Hey, thanks so much, Frank. Same to you. Hey, Frank, tonight we've got a meet up at Ziggy's, Springfield, Missouri, and I'm going to be showing Sam Bushman's video about the control of the media and the velvet hammer. We discussed that on Friday. Class, if you'd like to listen to a very interesting broadcast about why the media is controlled, why you listen to some of these national broadcasters and you say, just say it. Why do you talk all around it? Why don't you just come out and say it? You got to know it's true. They don't do it. And the reason they don't do it is they'll get fired. They will get fired. They know that there's a line that they can't cross, and if they do, they get fired. And Sam and I talked about what happened to me on KWTO, the afternoon broadcast, and I got hit by the velvet hammer. That's my belief, that I got hit by the velvet hammer, and that's why I'm no longer on the afternoon at 3 o'clock in Springfield. I happen to talk about some things like Walmart, and we talked about the inside. Hey, Frank, did you know that one of our instructors, David Klotz, was talking about Walmart and their street tactics, their dirty street tactics, and he got fired from his company the next day after he was on the air exposing how Walmart and a church were involved in suing the city council in Springfield, Missouri. He believes that the church and Walmart worked together to sue individually the members of city council to prevent a vote on whether another Walmart would be brought to Springfield, Missouri. We talked about it on the afternoon at KWTO, and the next morning he's fired, and then a couple weeks later I'm gone. Interesting.
Well, it's nation Pergamus, where the church became like the people, and I think I don't want to get on a spiritual note here, but listen, Walmart needs another store in Springfield, like I need a third shoe.
Well, I'm delighted to know that they really do have these tactics. I'm delighted to know that because now we know what the game is. I mean, it's absolutely crystal clear. So we've got to meet up tonight.
It's all heavy-handed tactics. You speak up and exercise free speech, and this fellow loses his job.
Yeah, and you know what? And the funny thing is, well, not the funny. It's all sad. The sad thing is that he used to work for Walmart. He worked for them for 20 years. And so he knew the inside. He met Hillary Clinton, and he met Sam Walton. And so he was trained a long time ago by Walmart. And he literally worked as a young man all the way, worked his way up to, through management, spent time at corporate headquarters in Bentonville, Arkansas. And he had some proposals to, sell American-made goods. There was a time many years ago where Walmart used to hang these signs saying, bringing jobs to America. I mean, they'd bring like
Probably
3 or 5 or 7.
Probably made in the USA. I remember that. Yeah, everything was made of Wranglers, jeans, fishing equipment, slicks, Stetsons. Now it's all made in China now.
Yeah, and so he was part of the organization to bring jobs back to America. And anyway, he saw what happened, and he got disillusioned with the inside of Walmart, and he started speaking out. You can call him a whistleblower. You can call him someone who is, telling the truth. Anyway, he lost his job. Well, I guess he resigned Walmart, and then he was hired by another company. And this other company was paying close attention to his discussions on the radio with me. And they interviewed him, and they said to him, look, we're interested in hiring you. You're a really good guy, but we don't want you to do to us what you did to Walmart. And he said, oh, no, I wouldn't do that. So he was on the radio with me after he got hired from this other company, about 70 to 100 miles outside of Springfield, a large farm and ranch supply chain. So he's working there as a store manager, and he was on the air with me on a Friday, his day off, and we were talking about Walmart, and we were on in Springfield, in the afternoon broadcast. The next morning, he was fired. And the company that fired him is a company that buys old Walmart stores. So when Walmart outgrows their old stores, this company buys them and turns them into a farm and ranch supply. So Walmart does have reach, and they fired him. So interesting story. So we're going to talk about the Velvet Hammer tonight at Ziggy's. And if you want to learn what we're going to talk about, just go, just download Friday morning's broadcast, hour number 2 on Genesis. You can go to usaprepares.com, click on Listen to Vincent, GCN, download the podcast from Friday, hour number 2, and that's the discussion about the Velvet Hammer and what happens to people in the media when we speak out and say things that the owners of the networks don't like. I do not have any more LEDs to bring to the meetup. I just got information that they're being sent FedEx. They decided not to send me these LEDs for some reason. I contacted the guy on over the weekend, and he said, yeah, we'll send them right away. And he did not send them. Frank, we've got some articles on the website that I think are pretty interesting. We're producing a low number of primary care doctors. Have you heard people talk about how hard it is to get a doctor's appointment today?
This comes across my desk, and people I know, that's a trend right now that is getting more widespread, and there's also a lot of doctors that just don't want to take on any new patients. I think that's what it comes down to, because they're all afraid of the insurance companies not paying and malpractice lawsuits, and they're very, very selective who they're taking on now.
Yes, and two of our senior instructors, I won't mention their names on this broadcast, but they are 2 instructors with us at usaprepares.com. 2 of them that I know of have decided to give up practicing medicine because of the paperwork, the hassle, the taxes, the invasion of privacy, the licensing, all of the bureaucracy that is involved with practicing medicine has become so burdensome. Now, these aren't young kids. I mean, these are senior medical doctors, and they've decided that it's not worth it. So what we're doing is they are deciding on their own to give up something that they love doing because it's become no fun. It's not because of the patients, not because they don't know what they're doing, not because of any other reason other than the bureaucracy involved is so burdensome. They just say, forget it, it's not worth it. And that's sad. That's sad. So here we have a government that is absolutely out of control in every respect. And now they're causing doctors that we desperately need to give up practicing medicine. And my wife has a doctor's appointment, just a checkup today. And I said, no, this week. I'm sorry, it's this week. And she asked me if I'd like to go with her. Well, I'm broadcasting that particular day this week. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, why don't you call the doctor and doctor's office and see if you can get that appointment changed just to a different hour later. maybe an hour later. That's all we need, and I'll be able to go with you. And she said, are you kidding? Do you know how long it took to get this appointment? It took months to get this appointment for a regular checkup to see her doctor. That's the kind of nonsense that's going on. You can't even get to see your doctor anymore. It's horrible. And it's not like they reduced the fees to apologize to you because it takes months to go see him. The fees have increased, and you still can't see him when you want to see him or her.
Well, I go to an inner-city doctor here in Las Vegas, and he charges cash up front, $60 a visit, and he'll write the prescription. But if it's anything that needs more than that, forget about it. He's nowhere to be seen.
Really?
Yeah.
So wait a minute. So are you saying that the diagnosis, he'll do a quick diagnosis and write a prescription? So like if you have a sinus infection, is that the kind of guy you go to?
Right, correct, yes.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what's happening in rural America is something a little different. In rural America, people are going to their veterinarian, and they are making sure that their animals have enough medication for things like infections and so forth. And they're buying those medications, and they're keeping them on hand. And it's just possible that some of those people are taking those medications themselves instead of going to the doctor because they can't get to the doctor. I mean, what would happen, Frank, since we're talking about this, what would happen if a person were bit by a tick, okay, and on a Friday at 3 o'clock, Friday afternoon, and the person said, you know what, I don't think this is so good. And then by Saturday, the fever starts, and it's, okay, now this is tick fever or Lyme's disease, right? So what do you do? What do? You certainly can't call your doctor right now because he's not available. His office hours don't start until 9 o'clock on Monday. And that's when you can talk to the scheduler or the receptionist. So you probably won't be able to see that doctor for a week or two. And by that time, if you have Lyme's disease, there's no fixing it easily. Whereas you could have just had an antibiotic, doxycycline, and been good to go. But you can't get it. You can't get it without a prescription. So what's happening is people are going to their veterinarian, they're getting prescriptions for their dogs. Interesting. I'm Vincent Finelli, Frank Underhill. We're going to talk about gold and silver. What's going on in the market? Is it manipulated? I think it is. We'll be right back. Talking about the economy, we're talking about articles on the website, and there's one on at USA Prepares that's titled More Than 200 Secret Service Agents with Special Diplomatic Immunity to Shoot Anyone They Suspect of Being a Threat will be protecting Barack Obama. And they're referring to him as Barack O'Farmer. Class, farming is an honorable profession. It really is, and I'm a farmer. And so it sounds like these Secret Service agents are going to dress in maybe the same attire that I might be dressed at while they're protecting Barack Obama. And they're going to be driving these tractors. And I just think that it's over the top. But dressing... impersonating farmers. Now, if you impersonate a police officer, that's against the law, but I guess it's not against the law to impersonate a farmer. I have a problem with impersonating a farmer. Farming is an honorable profession. And anyway, I have a problem with they now have diplomatic immunity. They can shoot anyone that they feel might be a threat. Can you imagine that? You don't have to be a threat. They just have to think that you might be. We're out of control. Absolutely out of control. But speaking of farming, I wanted to mention that we are having a real tough time here in the Midwest with trying to bale hay for the winter. Last year we had a drought that was unbelievable, the worst drought probably ever. And the grass wasn't growing, and farmers didn't have much hay, so they had to sell a lot of their cows, which caused the price to plummet, as we said it would, and then it caused a record price in beef prices, which we said it would, exactly as we predicted. Well, now we have the exact opposite. We have so much rain. We have torrential rains. The weather forecast is wrong all the time. All we need is 3 days worth of sun in a row, and we can cut and bale our hay, but we can't get it. And here's what's happening. The weather report, U.S. Weather.gov, from the federal government, is so inaccurate. It isn't. For example, our weather report said that there was a 10% chance of rain over the weekend. 10%. We thought, 10%, we can live with that. So we had our hay cut, and we raked it into windrows. When you rake it into a windrow, that's like a pile of hay. It goes. Imagine cutting your lawn with a rotary mower, and if you could rake what comes out of the discharge chute into a row, that's a windrow. And then we take a round baler, and we go along that path, and we pick up that hay and roll it into a round bale. Once we windrow it with a hay rake, we're committed. And if it rains on that hay's ruined. If the hay is cut on the ground and it rains on it, we can probably save some of that hay and not have it spoiled, because all we have to do is let it dry out, and all we do is lose a lot of its nutrition. Well, here's what happened. A third of the farmers were able to cut their hay and bale it, but because the window for sun was so short, they baled it wet, damp, with too much moisture. That's going to rot. That's a third of the hay. It's already done. Then, like me, a third of the farmers cut the hay, looked at the weather report, said it's going to be good, we're going to have enough time, and then we had a torrential rain that ruined it. And then the other third of the farmers have not cut their hay yet, and that hay is old and tough, and it's lost its nutrition. Here's what I'm saying. We are now at the point where we're going to have a tough time feeding our animals over the winter, because some of the hay, the third of that was already cut and baled, that's going to be moldy. The third that are like I, who cut the hay and can't bale it because it's raining on it and raining on it and raining on it, that hay is going to have low nutrition. And those who didn't cut the hay, that has low nutrition. And it's going to be really tough. And the cows aren't going to like it. So, yeah, we're having rain. And it's great right now because there's plenty of grass to eat. But the winter is going to be tough. We'll talk about that and gold when we come back on the long segment. Frank Underhill, UnderhillSecurities.com. He's the CEO. We'll be right back. Frank Underhill's with us. Frank, we've got a post on the website, and it says 10,000 people waiting in line to buy gold in China. Now, they don't seem to have any problem buying gold. What is happening with gold that you can share with us?
Well, clearly you see the dollar is, it's sideways here right now. And there just does not want to see an impetus for the dollar to correct. And because you have a high dollar, you have these sideways to lower gold prices. But the good news is the dollar, in my opinion, seems to be cresting here somewhat. And you're not seeing the wide downward swings in gold as you were a couple of months ago. So perhaps maybe this is the bottoming out here. And mind you, a lot of these miners are raising fresh cash down here and keeping operations going. So as long as that environment remains fertile, they're probably, and with a little sign of weakness in the dollar, we should start to see gold move back up. And then also, as we talked in earlier programs, inflation is setting in as well, too, whether it be in food prices or gasoline prices. very important to our economy, you'll probably start to see gold. Remember, gold is a hedge. Above all, it's a hedge against the dollar and a hedge against inflation. Anyone who invests in physical metals, or in what I recommend, it is primarily a hedge.
Well, I totally agree with that. Frank, you mentioned inflation, and I'd like to talk about something that happened to me over the weekend. When we were trying to bale hay, we were up against the clock, and the clock was ticking, and it was really a tough situation. We had, the rain was coming, and of course, that's the time when we have an equipment failure. We have a John Deere brand baler. It's a great baler, but there's this box that, let me explain the baling. When you bale hay, you've got these windrows, and you just follow them with a tractor, and the tractor has a shaft that comes out the back that turns the mechanism of the baler to pick up the hay from these windrows and then roll it into these round bales. Our baler produces about 1,000-pound roll of hay. And when the hay is all rolled, in order to keep it in a roll, there is plastic or natural twine that is used around the outside of the bale, and it just goes in a spiral around the outside and holds all the hay in toward the center of the bale, and it keeps the bale from collapsing. After you remove the bale from the baler. Well, there's a control box that allows me to control exactly how I want to wind that twine around the bale. And I can wind it with very little twine, or I can wind it with a lot more twine that holds the bale and keeps it so that it will last longer. So I control that. Well, the box failed. This little control box. It's the size of think of it like a light switch box. It's about that big on the end of a couple cables. And it has one button switch on it, and I can say, with the switch, I can push the switch forward to advance the twine in one direction, or I can push the switch the other way and return the winder, the twine dispenser arm, to its retracted position. It's a very simple box. And it failed, so I called John Deere, and they said they could get me one. It's $484.95. So I look on the internet, exactly the same price. It's price fixed. Okay, and I can have it within a day, but I couldn't wait that long. I had to have it right away. Now, for this box, that's an incredible amount of money, and I said, no matter what, I'm not going to pay that price, no matter what. So I decided I would adapt a mechanism to fix that box. So I called Radio Shack, and I was able to buy a double pole, double throw switch and wire it up so that it would do everything I wanted to do and replace that box. So for $3.99, I replaced this box that would have cost me $484.95. 1%. I fixed it for 1% of the cost. Frank, here's what I'm saying. Inflation is eating us alive when it comes to replacement parts that are factory type parts. They like headlights. If you have a crash and you need a headlight assembly, it can cost $1,000 or $1,500 or $1,800 for a headlight assembly. We have made these parts so you can only get them from the manufacturer now, and it's outrageous because they are really sticking it to us. So the price of parts to repair equipment is out of control, and inflation is eating us alive in the parts arena. That's what I'm saying.
And it's also very specialized. Like, that's where a lot of these companies make their money, are with aftermarket parts. Like any company like that one that GM had for a while, I forgot the name of it, but they make parts. In Canada, there's a few huge auto parts manufacturers. Mm-hmm. And those companies, I think, tend to are more profit-orientated than the actual car company itself. Parts are very lucrative, and also the engineering that goes into them and patents and all the other elements that go into parts making. It's very intense, and people pay for it. like if you have a head gasket breaking on your car,
man.
Watch out.
Yeah, I remember when I was in high school, I had a head gasket blow on my 1954 Willys Jeep, and the head gasket blew, and so I bought a new head gasket, and it was like maybe $10. At the absolute most, it was $10. And I took the head off myself. I'd never done it before. Took the head off and refinished the head so that it would be smooth, and put it all back together. And, my total cost was Permatex. I bought some Permatex gasket sealant for maybe $1.75 for the whole jar, and the head gasket. So for less than $15, I was in business. And now, to do that today, I'll bet you're looking at easily $1,000 in labor to replace a head gasket on an automobile. Easily. And I don't think the head gasket's $10. I'll bet you it's more like a gasket set to do that job would probably be $150. Because you need a lot more gaskets now to do it than you used to need. And the gasket prices are higher. Yeah, so it's costing a fortune. I can't imagine what it costs to have a plumber come replace a faucet. I can't imagine. I'll bet you it's $250 to have a plumber replace a faucet. That we used to be able to buy the whole faucet for $29. Frank, what's happening with silver?
Well, silver seems to, again, as other programs we've been broadcasting on, is having a very hard time finding any traction here. Mm-hmm. And the lower the silver goes, the more evident that premiums in the price of silver gets. And I can just attribute to silver's decline just because, again, there's no headway being made in gold right now. And as long as this persists, and silver also has more of an industrial application than, say, per gold. And if the economy moves ahead, you would assume that there'd be more demand for silver. But we are not seeing any of that silver slack being picked up here, which I find concerning.
Well, I agree. But what I'm seeing is I'm getting calls from people who are interested in buying physical silver. They're looking for bullion, and they're looking for junk silver. And even though, I think it's a good time to buy because the prices keep going down. But they're not. The people I know are not deterred by the prices slowly going down. They want it, and they'd rather have it than the Federal Reserve notes. And
I see silver below $22. I find that's ghastly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It is, but you can't buy it for 22. You can't buy it for 22. I mean, that's the price, but that's the
with a $5
price.
Premium on top of that, or $10 premium on top of that.
That's correct. That's correct. So, Frank, in our area of the country, in the Missouri Ozark Mountains, I'm seeing properties that are for sale, farms that are for sale, staying for sale for quite a while. And I believe it's because people can't sell their homes elsewhere to move to the country. I think that's what's happening. I know of a magnificent, absolutely magnificent farm for about $150,000. It's 80 acres. 80 acres. It's $150,000. It has a barn on it that's made out of metal with metal beams. It is on short walls, which means it's got concrete walls. This is not a junky barn. The barn's probably worth $80,000 if you were to build one like it. Absolutely magnificent property with it's fenced, it's cross-fenced, it's a quarter of a mile of road frontage, it's a half a mile deep, it has 3 ponds, it's got grass. And the price is $150,000, and no one's bought it. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. It's in our neighborhood, if you would. And if someone bought it, they'd be our neighbor. And it's available at $150,000. Why is it that has not sold? Why is it? The only thing I can think of is people can't sell what they've got right now. They're underwater. They can't get out. They can't sell their city property or their suburban property to move out to the country to get away from disaster. I can't think of any other reason. Can you?
No, I can't think of either. Just it's very, very... Well, first of all, farmland has always been expensive regardless. And I think people who would troll into that spectrum would look at putting that land into production, but the cost of doing so is probably quite high right now.
Frank Underhill, I'm Vin Finelli. This is USAPrepares.com. And when we get back, you got some information about foreclosures. There's a change. Frank, would you share that with us when we come back on the other side of this
I will, Vincent.
Short break?
No,
we'll be right back. UnderhillSecurities.com. Real estate in Nevada might be an indication of what's happening in your neighborhood. Frank Underhill's with us, UnderhillSecurities.com. Frank Underhill is the CEO of UnderhillSecurities.com. He's with us every Monday for 2 hours right here on USAPrepares.com. Frank, what's happening with real estate foreclosures?
Well, they're spiking higher again because these banks are remedying all the robo-signing and documentation, and they're starting to foreclose again at high rate to lock in on higher prices. So I think for a lot of people who are still in their homes, I think that that hiatus honeymoon will come to an end probably sooner than later. And there's a lot of inventory still here in Nevada where there's lots of vacant properties, but I think you're going to start to see those come back onto the market again as well, and so banks can lock in on higher prices. And I think you're going to start to see more, not only here, but probably in other areas as well, like Phoenix, Florida, other parts of the country too. So I think that, but I think if you're looking at buying a home at a discount price, I think you can still keep dreaming. I don't think that's going to happen.
Now, your neck of the woods has really been hit hard with property prices falling. I believe you were telling me that houses in the $400,000 price neighborhoods have been coming down to the $200,000.
That's right.
Prices, and so that house that was, let's start with the $500,000 house in your area. What is it, or what was it 2 months ago, and where do you see it going now?
Well, probably 2 months ago, that $500,000 house was selling for under $2, and now it's probably going for $210,000, $215,000 right now.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's up 5 to 7.5%.
Yeah,
okay.
And like 2 years ago, it'd probably be 150. It was very bad everywhere. But there's like, as the banks go through the inventory and the auctions, at City Hall were ramping up. But now again, like I said, you're seeing a lot of these properties slowly coming back onto the market just because the banks have gotten their paperwork straightened out with a lot of these twisted loans. So, but they're not going to be as quick to throw them back on the market as they were 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And again, as a home buyer, don't look for any bargains because I think they're very few and far between. I think if you're looking for a bargain, you probably missed the boat on that.
Our daughter was trying to buy a house for the longest time, and a couple of years, and she would see something that would just be listed on the multiple listing service on the East Coast, and she'd send me an email, and I would look at it. I would do the research. I would, within a couple hours, I would look at the satellite map. I'd look for all kinds of negatives in the area. I would look for nuclear reactors. I would look for chemical plants. I would look for high voltage power lines. I'd look for all kinds of things that I wanted to help her avoid. And so it would take a couple hours. So it would come on the market, let's say, at 9 o'clock in the morning. By noon, I would have received it, had all the research done, helped her pick a price to offer to buy. She would contact her realtor. By 5 o'clock that day, her offer would be in, and by that evening, she would be told that the house was already sold, and it was impossible. And this went on for a couple of years. And so if she tried an offer at a reasonable discount from the asking price, she never got it. The only way she was able to buy a house was at the full asking price. And she finally got one, but it took 2 years. So buying a house is really, really a difficult proposition. Frank Underhill's with us, and when we come back, I'd like to talk about credit cards. We'll be back after the top of the hour news. Frank Underhill, UnderhillSecurities.com. I can't believe it. You know, I'm looking at the news during the break. I can't believe it. Frank Underhill's with us. I'll tell you what the news is in just a second. Frank, it says... Oh, man. They really expect us to believe this. Here's Frank Underhill's with us, UnderhillSecurities.com. Frank, this is the Weekly Standard, and I I can't believe it. 66% believe Obama administration right to analyze and collect data. They're saying that 66% of the people in a CNN poll believe, these are American adults, believe that it is right for the Obama administration to analyze and connect internet data. Now, only 33% believe it's wrong, and 1% have no opinion. Now, they did a telephone poll, which I guess is different from this other poll that they did, and 51% said it's right to collect the data, and 48% say it's wrong, and only 1% has no opinion. Now, here's the question. The question that was asked is, let's see, do you think the Obama administration was right or wrong in gathering and analyzing internet data? I am absolutely shocked that they're saying that 66% of Americans are that dumb as to say that it's right to collect and analyze this data, because it's collected and analyzed on everybody. What are your thoughts, Frank?
It's rather unfortunate that a lot of people think the Constitution isn't worth defending and upholding.
Yeah. And we may get Frank, we may get a call from one of our instructors in the next or during this segment. He was I don't know if you got a chance to meet the Dollarhite family, John Dollarhite.
John Dollarhite, yeah.
Yeah, and Judy Dollarhite. The USDA went after them, after their family, for selling pet rabbits, and I think they were facing about a $6 million fine, $6 million for selling rabbits, and they stood up. They went all the way to Washington, the U.S. Congress, and they got a lot of our Congress involved. As a matter of fact, I think Rand Paul wrote a book, and he talks about the Dollarhite family and how they stood up to the federal government and this massive, massive fine. But I can't get over the fact that the media is expecting us to believe that 66% of Americans believe in this poll that the government has a right to mine data and invade our privacy. We've got a question. David from San Francisco, you're on with Frank Underhill and me, Vin Finelli.
Hey, morning, all. Yeah, I'm glad you raised this. A lot of the neocon talk shows are trying to claim that the polling should be able to give away our constitutional rights, but if you look at the very word unalienable, in the Declaration of Independence that we're born with unalienable rights. That means you can't give them away. Nobody can sell them from you. Nobody can get you to sign away your constitutional rights. What you're born with, you have for the rest of your life. And so no amount of polling is going to be able to give away our constitutional rights. And in the case of all of this spying, what's ugliest about it to me is the fact that they've given it away to private corporations, that the U.S. government, the NSA, which seems to me to be an unconstitutional agency to begin with, but that they've given this away to private corporations who are now doing things like headhunting, stealing employees from each other, which means that they've got the possibility of having spies working as headhunters, employment agency people, who then, if they choose a figure that they want to steal away for another corporation, they basically have a knowledge of what that person is doing, which is it's basically creating an opportunity to have spying within the corporations, which then puts the nation at risk if one corporation decides to do some corporate, crushing of their competition. They could sabotage that other corporation's methods or operation just to ruin their share price on the stock market. And so they would put our nation at risk by having one spy corporation trying to crush another spy corporation.
Mm-hmm. Well, not only that, we are putting our nation at risk by allowing foreign parts to be used in our computer control apparatus and electronics.
Oh, yeah, no kidding.
I'm in my studio right now here in Missouri, in the Ozark Mountains, and there is nothing. Well, I'm looking around. No. There's nothing in my studio that is made with 100% USA components. Nothing. I'm talking about the mixers, the microphone mixers, the headphone amplifiers, the high-speed digital communications link, the JBL speakers, the monitors, the voice processing equipment, the KVM switches. Everything that I've got in front of me, everything is made with components from outside the United States. So yeah, and our national security is dependent on it. I really appreciate your call, David. Thanks so much for calling.
Yeah, no trouble. Good week.
Thank you. You too. We've got John Dollarhite on with us. John Dollarhite from Nixon, Missouri. You're on with Frank Underhill and me, Vin Finelli.
Hey, great to be on the air, as always. There is as we're kind of talking about the foreign entities that have control over our personal and private information, a company name by the name of Safran is is a Morpho Group. They have several different subsidiaries: Morpho Group, Morpho Trust, Morpho USA. They're all under this French-owned company. And as of right now, they are the only company in the world that handles personal identification for federal governments. Right now, they have 100 different countries that are involved in this. Same with right here in Missouri. They take care of all the fingerprinting, facial recognition, everything. And right now, as you go and get your license at the local Department of Revenue, they do a full biometric scan of your face and of your eyeball, and then once they do that, then they take any of your private information that they can't just look at your birth certificate and look at the screen and say you were born in such and such year and month and verify the information. They're no longer able to verify it. They have to actually put that on a fax machine or a scanning system where it scans your birth certificate, your marriage certificate. Every piece of paper that they ask, it's basically, where's your papers, sir? And, whatever they say. And if you do not give them those papers and they do not scan those into the system, then you're not allowed to get your driver's license or your CCW and such. Last week we did go to do our CCW, we did videotape them, and they get all the way up to that point. And I said, "Excuse me, you can't do that according to the Missouri law." And they're like, look at you and say, "We're just following orders, sir." I said, "Yeah, but if you follow orders, if those orders are criminal, aren't you? You would be then committing a crime, sir. We're just following orders." Yeah, and this is the problem. And I've talked with state representatives, state senators, county commissioners, our county sheriff. They all say yes, that it is illegal for them to obtain and scan that information. But I sure can't find one of them that's going to stand up with me and say, go to the License Bureau and say, "No, you can't do that." The sheriff says, "Come in and make another report." Well, I've already made a couple reports on it, and a lot of other people have. But, they all say it's illegal, but they're not stopping it.
John Dollarheight's with us. Class, John Dollarheight is a USAPreparedness.com instructor. He's with us at all of our meetups. He's with us at the Get Prepared Expo, and he teaches a class on computer security. He and his wife have been invaded by the USDA, and they've been threatened with a $6 million fine. They stood up to them, and Judy Dollarheight, John's wife, wrote a book called Going Down the Multi-Million-Dollar Rabbit Hole, and so that's just published, and that's available on the internet right now, Amazon. John Dollarheight, Mrs. Finelli and I are going to the Department of Revenue today, because her driver's license is up for renewal, and we're going to video exactly what you videoed and see how we get received. And right across the road from the Department of Revenue for renewing licenses and CCW permits and such is the City Hall and the Sheriff's Office. So we're going to see what we can do, and we're going to video it too. Class, if you'd like to see this video that John Dollarheight did of trying to get his CCW renewal without scanning in private information, without sending it electronically to this repository, wherever it is, this worldwide repository, that video is at usapreparedness.com. Just go to usaprepares.com, and you will see the post that says Missouri Department of Revenue won't issue CCW renewal without scanning in private information. And you can click on, once you open up that post, you'll be able to click and watch the YouTube video. Please do. And we have included the Missouri Department of Revenue, Nixa, Missouri office's phone numbers. So please call them. Please call them and tell them they are fired. John, did you have something else that you wanted to share with us?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Hey, thanks so much. So I'll see you tonight at the meetup.
Yep.
John Dollarheight. John Dollarheight's with us. Now, there's a man who stands up. He doesn't take it. And Frank Underhill's with us and talk about the economy. But there you have it. We are being surrounded on every front. We'll be right back. I had a dream last night, and I was sitting in front of the four monitors here in the studio, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but I had this reason why I needed a fifth monitor, and I just got a message from Dave, our producer, and I can't handle the four monitors, let alone have another one. Oh man. Frank Underhill's with us. Frank, what's happening with gas prices? What do you see there?
They are going higher. Last week, $3.30 a gallon. This week, $3.53 a gallon.
When I was younger.
And oil prices have only stayed sideways, $93, $94 a barrel.
Interesting phenomenon, Frank. I mentioned on the air that there was this real pretty girl in Los Angeles on the news, and she was saying gas prices aren't supposed to go up at this time of the year, and it made me crazy listening to that. I mean, she's a really pretty girl, and she was the on the street reporter on a video. And it really made me angry because I was thinking, where did she go to school and where did she learn when gas prices are supposed to go up? And, they're not. And at a specific time of the year. Well, I took exception to that. And one of my reactions was, okay, all right. So, class, when you hear somebody say something on the air, challenge them. Give them a call. If they take calls, give them a call. If you see them on the street, ask them, why should I believe what you say? What makes you credible? And as a on-air personality, as a reporter. And here's what's happening, Frank. In this market in Springfield, Missouri, I am hearing people who are USA Prepares students and instructors calling talk shows. Holy smokes, they are taking the talk show host to task. They have stopped sitting on the sidelines and just listening to these people, and they're calling them up and they're saying, what makes you say that? Where did you get your information from? Tell me the source of that information. Why should I believe you? And what's happening is these talk show hosts are now stuttering. They're stuttering because they don't know the answers. They have no idea. They have not been schooled in it. They have not experienced it. They are just parrots of information. And it's really embarrassing. It's really embarrassing to listen to some radio today because these talk show hosts are being exposed. And not only that, tonight we have a meetup. In fact, I want to share this with you because I think it's really, really important. Tonight at our meetup, and I guess I need to say why we have meetups. Class, the reason I talk about our meetups is I want you to have them too. Wherever you are. Coast to coast, north to south, east to west, I would like you to consider having a meetup group. And the reason I talk about how we do it and the topics, so there are two reasons. One, so our class can show up. Two, so you can say, well, you know what, we could talk about that at our local level. We can find a local restaurant, an independent restaurant, not a chain, because forget the chains, you're wasting your time. Just forget International House of Pancakes. Forget, the chains. They will not accommodate you. Find a local independent businessman or woman who would like to have you show up. Pick the night of the week that they are the least busy and ask them if you could use their facility for free. We don't pay Ziggy's. He lets us come and we just have dinner there, and he benefits, we benefit. It works out great. So tonight we're going to talk about the media, and we're going to talk about how it's manipulated. And really, it is manipulated. These guys are told what not to say. They know that if they cross that line, they'll get fired. So that's what we're going to talk about at tonight's meetup. And we're going after the message. We're going after the message because the message is wrong, and we're teaching our students how to do it. So what I'm telling you is that if you listen to networks like GCN, we're not afraid. We're not afraid of telling you the truth. And that's why we have Frank Underhill on, because he'll tell it like he sees it. He's not afraid. He's not afraid to tell you what he really sees is happening. Frank, when we get back, I'm going to turn the controls over to you, and you've got the conn. C-O-N-N, the controls. You're in charge. We'll be right back. I'm Vin Finelli. Wow, we're going to spare no expense here. I just posted an article that the U.S. officials are taking the personal security of Barack Obama so seriously that they're going to be positioning 2 aircraft carriers off the coast of the G8 summit. Two aircraft carriers. And the plan is that as a contingency, they'll have an evacuation plan should there be a threat on Barack Obama, that they'll put him in a helicopter, get him off to the aircraft carrier, and then where there's a jet waiting, that'll take him to the United States. Have we gotten so many people mad at us that they've got to pull out all these stops? I have never heard of such a thing, where where we have 2 aircraft carriers as a contingency to whisk a person to the United States because of assassination fears. This is pretty serious. Frank Underhill, you have the con. That's a merchant marine term, con meaning that we're turning over the controls to you, so you can say whatever you'd like. Frank, you've got the con.
Well, Vincent, first of all, that story, the fact that they want to have aircraft carriers, if it's this much security, why even bother going? If it's just simply too dangerous.
That's exactly the way I looked at it. How did we get to the point? How did we get to the point where we are so concerned about a person's safety? I remember JFK, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, riding in an open convertible, and now he did get shot, and there are a lot of reasons that people can attribute that to. But the point is, I've never heard of a president having 2 aircraft carriers plus all the fleets of vehicles that he's got and all the bulletproof glass that they're putting on hotels, where he's staying, and all the rooms that they clear out and all the security. I mean, this is unprecedented.
And Congress complains about his Air Force One travels and other, and here you got 2 aircraft. Just egregious, and this is why America's broken, Vincent, because your listeners know what's going on here. They know the game. That's why they don't believe in the like what that poll you alluded to. They don't mind eavesdropping and all this, because the American people have just simply given up. These are antics and hijinks that we simply have no control over, no matter who's in and who. And this is the way it's been going for years. And over the years, you've seen America lose its sophistication, where it's the get-rich-quick, scheming, the fast buck. It's like nothing like Family Matters anymore. It's like only what these people wear on these television shows is what is really important.
You're talking about Keeping Up with Kim?
Any of these programs, and the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
And when you have to have aircraft carrier, don't go. Hold this.
That's unbelievable.
Hold a seminar video conference.
Frank, I want to share this with you. Back in Virginia, we would change oil on our farm tractors and our trucks and all of our, reciprocating engine equipment, piston-powered equipment. And we'd save all the oil and we'd bring it to the recycling place. We'd pour it into this great big container. And I said to the guy in the back room there, I said, "So what do you guys do with this oil?" He said, "Well, I'm thinking that they're going to refine it and make it back into a lubricating oil again, He said, No. What we do is we sell it, and we use it. They use it as fuel for ships. So here we think that we're doing something good, and they're using it as a fuel for ships. We're thinking that there's probably a really close recycling product." That's going to come out of this. No, they're just burning it. They're burning it as fuel for ships. That's where your oil goes when you bring it to a recycling center, like at Walmart or AutoZone or any of those auto stores. It gets sold. It gets sold, and they burn it for fuel. The deception. The deception is so great, Frank, on so many levels. We think we're doing good stuff. In Virginia, we had recycling, and we had what was called you'd bring your trash into town, and they had these great big green bins, and they'd pick it up and they'd take it to the dump, to the landfill. Then they decided they would build what was called a convenience center. So instead of 24 hours a day, 365 days a week, you could bring your trash and you get picked up a couple times a week and brought to the landfill. No, they have a convenience center where they hired a guy and they would separate glass. They'd separate it by the color. So if it was green glass or yellow glass, it would go in one bin. Clear glass would go in another bin. Aluminum cans would go in another bin. and then garbage would go in another bin. Well, so we're washing out our bottles and we're washing out our cans. We're separating the steel, the aluminum, the glass, the colors of the glass, and the garbage. So it's all separated. We bring it in, go through all this effort, bring it to the convenience center, which is really an oxymoron. There's nothing convenient about it, and because it wasn't open all the time. So anyway, I said, where does this glass go? And they said, they take it to the landfill. So what they do is they have us separate the yellow glass, the green glass, the clear glass, wash it out, put it in these containers, and then they take it to the same landfill and they dump it in the same hole as they dump the garbage. Unbelievable, isn't it?
Well, it's unbelievable, and I just want to get back, and I come from from Canada, and the Prime Minister travels on a 15-year-old Airbus CC-150, and it used to be a drab battleship gray color. And then they spend some money to repaint it more palatable. But interestingly, the Prime Minister of Canada does not have sole exclusivity of that airplane. That airplane is serviced by the Defense Department, and it flies dignitaries around, generals around. It has a multi-purpose role. And here you have Air Force One, which is solely dedicated. You have these aircraft carriers solely dedicated. Where does the money come from to run all this?
Yeah, I think it would be from theft.
The Prime Minister of Canada drives a Chevy Impala. A Canadian Prime Minister has to drive a made-in-Canada car. Whether it be an Impala or a Buick Encore or whatever they drive. Has to be made in Canada. You don't see armored Cadillacs and stuff up there. And again, if that's how he has to travel around, maybe he should just stay home.
Maybe he shouldn't cause so many problems that get so many people mad at him.
Precisely. And if this is where we've gotten, what's the point? I like what Woody Harrelson said. He said, well, America could function without government.
As a matter of fact,
we'd be okay.
I think it would be. Frank, you hit on a really good point. Over the weekend, I was talking to one of our instructors, and the comment was, why wait for the Red Cross to give you permission to go help somebody? Forget the Red Cross. Just go do it. Don't wait for permission from anybody. Frank, I have a strategy I'd like to run by you. This strategy. When you go to the Chinese factory outlet, sometimes they say, I need to see your ID to use that credit card. What do you think about this? So you're in line, and you put all your stuff on the conveyor belt there, and it's all scanned in. They say, okay, just swipe your card, and you swipe your card, and then the clerk says to you, I need to see your ID. Now, at that point, you've got a couple choices. You can say no. You can say yes, but I think the coolest one, and I'm going to do this next, I'm going to say, okay, I'll be right back. It's in my car, and I'm going to leave. What do you think?
I agree completely, yeah.
And then, about 15 minutes later, I'm going to come back. I'm going to say, I got it. It's right here. Got it. I'll be all out of breath. I got it as fast as I could. But I got it. So we're all set. Now, what is the clerk going to do? What is she going to do with all the stuff that's in the bags? Right? What happens to the 17 people behind me? Okay, everybody's going to be mad, and initially they're going to be mad at me. Then they're going to figure out that I didn't do it. Now, if enough of us do that, and we do it like 20 times a day, they're going to knock it off. They're going to knock it off because we're going to gum up the lines, and people are going to go, don't go to that Chinese factory outlet. Are you kidding? They make you bring your ID, and people don't have it, and the lines are around the block. Forget it. Don't go there. We can take America back.
It's not going to be taken back when you have leadership calling this a G8 summit. And again, I read my Canadian papers. The Prime Minister of Canada said it's foolish to call this the G8 summit. It's actually a G7 plus one. Russia should not be included in this summit for simply its brutality and oppression. And just going there and having dialogue with it alone is letting down a lot of people. And he's the only leader that has guts to stand up and say this stuff when you have the biggest country in the world, the United States, coddling to this kind of tyranny.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I urge everyone, read foreign newspapers, read the Mirror, read the Globe and Mail.
Absolutely. I don't read any American newspapers. I really don't, because, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't put much credibility in what I read in American press. I think it's all controlled, it's all sanitized, it's all filtered, and I'm even
the CNN would not cover Stephen Harper's comments that I don't think we should fool ourselves. This is a G7 plus one. Mm-hmm. They need to tell Russia, you are denied from this conference until you get on board with ending the human rights violations in Syria. Now, I'm not one who wants to go to war against Syria, but I think if you just ignore them, cut them off of money, oil, whatever they rely on to run their machine, then that would be good enough. But we shouldn't go over there. I think America doesn't want to have a war with Hezbollah on its hands right now anyways.
Frank, what would you like to talk about when we come back?
Let's just talk about gold and have a wrap. We'll go with gold.
Okay. How about food prices, too? We'll be right back.
And food prices.
Gold and food prices. We'll be right back. Class, Get Prepared Expo is coming. Get Prepared Expo in Lebanon, Missouri at the Cowan Civic Center, same place we had the last one. That's July 19, 20, and 21. July 19, 20, and 21. We've got a really interesting format for this expo. We are having in-depth workshops. In addition to seminars, we're having in-depth workshops. Imagine spending 2 hours with Dr. Norman Shealy in a workshop. Imagine Joel Wallach, 2 hours in an in-depth workshop. Imagine 2 hours in survival and emergency dentistry with Dr. Howard Shayne. And so we have workshops with Dr. Richard Allen Miller, Dr. Shealy, Dr. Shayne, Dr. Wallach. Sam Bushman's going to be there. Joyce Riley said she's going to be there. Imagine spending time with all of these fascinating individuals, your senior instructors and your instructors and me. That will be in Lebanon, Missouri at the Get Prepared Expo. I'm going to be putting more information on the website about this. I think it's absolutely fabulous. So there's not going to be just appetite whetting seminars, okay? We're going to have in-depth workshops. You're going to leave with the information that you need to prepare and to survive. And the weather's getting worse, the economy's getting worse, the government encroaching is getting worse. Everything I can think of is getting worse. So we're going to teach you how to deal with that. Frank Underhill is with us. Frank, gold and food prices.
Yeah, well, I would say on the gold and silver spectrum, people should not be looking at this on a daily or constant basis. Instead of monitoring it daily or weekly or monthly, gold and these prices should be monitored yearly. As you see, in the end, it's always over year-to-year performance. It's like staring at a pot of boiling water. Well, if you keep staring at it, it's going to take a while to boil.
Yeah,
so
watch pot never boils.
I just urge people just to be patient and just see where it plays out and get off of listening to what all the pundits and the experts say. On the forefront with commodity prices, I can definitely see the oil over the course of duration move higher. I think if anyone has, should be taking a look at what energy is. If I think what's happening at the gas pump is perhaps a leading indicator of what's indicative for crude prices to come. And if you see oil sitting here at $98 a barrel, well, I remember it was down a few weeks ago, down to 89, 87. And these commodity prices can change on a dime very rapidly. And what investors have to know is that there are people in this every day, trading in and out of this every day. Now, we don't have the power to flick a switch like a hedge fund or a mutual fund company and whatnot. But if you just give it time and be patient, things will always work out in the end there.
Frank, when I buy fuel for the farm, I'll buy thousands of gallons at a time. And I try to use historical information as best I can, and I typically buy my fuel oil in August when fuel oil is at the lowest price. But I don't think I can do that anymore. I don't think I can depend on historical data because there's so many manipulations going on at one time. And it's when I buy fuel oil, it's a big deal. It really is a big deal. Just filling up one small tank is about $4,000. So, and we farmers depend on fuel oil. So I think we're going to see higher food prices, as we talked about in the first hour, because of the rain and our inability to bale hay for the winter. We can't bale it because it's just too wet. So we're going to have an absence of food for the cows this winter. So if you like beef, that's going to be a problem. I think beef prices are going to go higher. They're going to go lower at the end of the summer, and then they're going to go higher. Probably early in next year. Frank Underhill's with us. Frank, if someone wants to get in contact with you, underhillsecurities.com, underhillsecurities.com. If you've got security issues, if you've got questions, if you need Frank's advice and counsel, he's the guy that Bob Chapman called 5 times a day on average to get the latest information for the 40 hours of broadcasting that Bob Chapman did. Good personal friend of Bob Chapman, Frank Underhill. I'm Vin Finelli. Frank, thanks so much for being with us. Class, above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you. Meet up tonight, 5:30, Ziggy's.